Today we're talking about the anatomy of an inline figure skate. Alternatively, this is a how to replace everything guide. So, starting with the boot, this is a figure skate boot. You have your hooks here, you have your laces, you have the heel, you have the leather. Replacing a figure skate boot, you probably want to go to a technician and get your boot fitted. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of the issues that I deal with. Everything from boot pain or foot pain, ankle pain. You can give yourself some serious injuries from what I hear. Get your boots fitted if you're going to replace them. Keep a special eye out for your toe box if you have a wider foot. For me, I have annoyingly wide feet and my feet get crammed in here and they hurt after like 10-20 minutes, so keep an eye on that. Moving on to the actual frame of the inline figure skate. Fair warning, I have Snow Whites. Not everything here is going to apply to everyone else. If you have Snow Whites like mine, then everything will apply. Starting at the top, we have the toe block, which is this black box here, and the toe stop. So the toe block holds the toe pick. The toe block can actually be replaced if you really want to. This screw here, or this bolt here, and this bolt here holds it in place into the rest of the metal. You can take that out. You can buy a new toe block if you ding it, or if you, I don't know, break it to a point of no return. The toe stop, obviously, you can replace that. I have a video on it somewhere. Did I have a video? Was my video on how to replace toe stops? I think it was. Next, you have the rocker that's created by the frame and the wheels. If you're on GH, then you have wheels that create the rocker. If you're anyone else, you have the frame that creates the rocker. The rocker is the curve of the blade so that you can do tricks like 3 turns and spins and anything related with maneuvering. So like I said before, this metal bit is the frame. This is the only part that cannot be replaced by itself. If you buy a new frame, it comes with all the bells and whistles again. Next, we have the Allen keys that don't show up that great on camera. These are used to do anything from taking out the bearings of your wheels to changing the height of your toe stop and moving around wheels and all that fun stuff. You really need 2 of these. Preferably, you'd use the ones that came with your skates, but if you have some lying around, those are also usable, I guess. Next, we have the axle bolt. These keep your wheels onto your frame, and they are very important. But they're also very easy to replace because I believe, don't quote me on this, they are fairly standardized. So it's not just the inline figure skates that have these. A lot of the other brands have exactly the same kinds. So you don't have to buy them for super expensive at a retailer. Gotta think about the wallet. That's gonna become my new catchphrase. So next we have your wheel. I'm sorry, this one's really discolored because I've been using it for way too long. Taking it apart is super easy, so you can actually take your bearing and your spacer out with the actual Allen key that came with your skates. If you press the thinned out bit into your bearing, it just pops right out. So it comes out like this. You have your bearing, your standard 608 bearing. You can buy these at any hardware store pretty much. Any roller skate or inline skate shops should have them. A lot of sports places have them. They're very, very easy to find. Next, you have these little spacer dudes. So the bearing actually sits inside the spacer, which makes it a little bit harder to buy than standard 8mm spacers. They do function as 8mm spacers. That's kind of what they are. They keep your 2 bearings apart inside the wheel. The spacer, it's a little bit specialized, but it's not that specialized. So it's not just the inline figure skates that have them, but they're not as easy to find as regular 8mm spacers. Now this is the rest of the wheel. This, you can actually buy just replacements like this without the spacer and the bearing. A lot of people think that they need to buy the spacer and the bearings with the wheels. You don't have to do that. You can do that because your bearings and your spacers will wear down eventually, but you don't have to if your wheels are worn down more than your bearings and spacers are. These guys are transferable across most wheels, most inline wheels at least, and you don't have to keep rebuying them over and over and over again. Quick note here, when you're replacing your bearings, don't stick the Allen key in and pry them out like you would with other inline wheels because you'll just damage the spacer. I did that, oops. I didn't do it enough that it broke the spacer, but it can, and don't do that. Inside the wheel there are 2 parts. You got the polyurethane on the outside, so that's like the colored wheelie bit, and the plastic bit inside, which is called the core. Now depending on your discipline, So if you're recreational versus if you're speed skater versus if you're inline figure skater, or if you're, I don't know, I think aggressive is another one. There's all these different kinds of inline skating. And depending on the type, you have different cores and different constructions of cores. So this one, you can see that there aren't many spaces. There's 8 like little tiny holes around here, and then that's about it. It's almost like, it looks like almost solid plastic. Other ones, some of them, they look more like tires out of a car. You have all these different cores for different disciplines. The outside, the polyurethane, comes in different colors, in different sizes and diameters, and in different durometers. So, colors doesn't affect your skating at all. The other two, they very much do. Most wheels are standard 24 millimeters wide. In terms of diameter, for Snow Whites, and for specifically my size at least, it's 72 millimeters. I have size 16. Other people are gonna have, 68 millimeters, 76 millimeter. Other brands are gonna have all kinds of different here and there, whatever. Just know the know the sizes for your own skates, because that's very important. The other thing is durometer, which is the hardness of the wheels. The unit of durometer for some reason is A. I don't understand why. There's probably a reason, but I don't know it. So generally with durometer, if you are skating outdoors, you want harder wheels. If you're skating indoors, you want softer wheels. If you're skating on both surfaces, I would say try to go for a harder wheel, just because it's harder for it to break down when you're on pavement and when you're on concrete. But again, it really depends on where you skate, how often you skate, things like that. The profiles of inline wheels are typically the same, so you won't have to like specify every time you look for wheels 24 millimeters. Same goes with bearings and spacers. They're all pretty standardized. That makes your life a little bit easier when you're looking for wheels, because that's a hard task if you live in Canada, because everything costs so much shipping. I hope this helped. I know like replacing every little thing when your skates start getting worn is stressful, it's a little bit scary, so hopefully this made it a little bit easier to understand everything. You ever have allergies so bad breathing is I think my friend Sam has a pollen allergy. He watches this. Dude, you texted me while I was filming. Okay, I'm gonna ignore him for now. Sorry, Sam.